We are doing a panel discussion on female sexuality, and the speakers are Dr. Kartikeya Priya. She is an MD psychiatrist, consultant working in Meenakshi Medical College, and Dr. Rupalata. She is an OGCN, FMAS, DPE in Germany, and she is a laparoscopic gynecologist at LKSA Women Care Center, Kanchipura. So I'm Dr. Vaishali, MD Psychiatry, first year residency student, presently doing in Meenakshi Medical College. This interview, it is sponsored by 90 Decibels Music Studio, organized by Professional Health, and the topic of discussion we are doing is female sexuality. And I'm welcoming the panel members. So let's start the questions. First one is, women have sexual desire lesser than men. Is it a myth? What's your views on it, ma'am? Could Dr. Kartikeya Priya ma'am explain on it?
Hi all. First of all, I would like to thank Professional Helps, Pavan and his team, Dr. Ardhanari, for giving this wonderful opportunity to talk about female sexuality. Not much topic. It is very important because lot of females are suffering from sexual difficulties, resulting in difficulties in their relationships, and which can lead to mental health problems. But there is not much awareness about it, and even they are not sure where to go and consult for their problems. So hope this discussion sheds some light on the sexual issues faced by today's women. So coming to your question, Vaishali, do women have less sexual drive, right? So most of the sex surveys which have been done so far often report that females uh, think about sex less often than men. This report has been consistent. This, but why it is so? That is the question, because they tend to underreport it. So even though the prevalence of sexual dysfunction, when they study, it is roughly 40 to 70%, but not many women seek professional help for that. So because of those reasons, and there is a lot of social and cultural factors which influence female sexuality on a daily basis. So because of all these reasons, we don't believe this. So there is high chance that this is a myth. And as sex itself is an act performed by two persons, so it is unlikely that male has higher sex drive and female has lesser sex drive. No? So I feel it is not true.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And Dr. Rupa ma'am, would you like to answer a question? Like, is it a myth, like stretched, ruptured, or absence of hymen indicates loss of virginity? Why is this untrue? Rupa ma'am, are you there?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you, ma'am.
I can't see the slide actually. Okay. Okay, I can see now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank Dr. Ardhanari and Dr. Pavan for giving me this wonderful opportunity to talk on this rare topic on female sexuality to break the myth and to create awareness. In fact, I was taken aback to talk on this topic due to no, usually women don't talk, even to patients. I don't talk about this rare topics. In fact, I am very happy and proud to be a part of this talk. My question is stretched or ruptured or absence of hymen indicates loss of virginity. Why is this untrue? Yeah, hymen is not an accurate indicator of virginity because it is just a mucous membrane partially closing the vaginal orifice. Its elasticity increases after puberty due to the estrogen hormone. Variations of female reproductive tract can result from agenesis or hypoplasia. Even anatomical defects like canalization defect or lateral fusion or failure of resorption can give one of the anatomical reasons. Then there are other behavioral causes which causes trauma to the hymen, like usage of tampon or menstrual cup, even masturbation, gymnastics or excessive strenuous exercises or horseback riding. I think my answer will be enough to break the myth.
Yes, no, it is very, very much enough. And the next question is, how different is female sexuality from men's sexuality? Whether it's more on psychological or rather than biological? Would Katya Priya ma'am explain on this?
Okay. Sex as such for both male and females is a psychophysiological response. When I say psychophysiological, it means that the person experiences both psychological feelings of satisfaction and pleasure, sexual tension, and at the same time also undergoes lot of physiological changes. Okay, so actually the difference is in what leads to sexual attraction. So in that there is lot of differences. So whereas the physical characteristics of a woman or more play more role in attracting men, but when compared to that in women you can see that psychological factors play an important role, but as well as physical characteristics you cannot tell only psychological factors, but it's both. So otherwise I think both are similar.
Thank you, ma'am. And what are the common sexual difficulties faced by women in means of desire, pain, orgasm, and treatment? I would like to ask Dr. Rupa ma'am about the organic causes of this.
Okay, before going to this, there are 4 phases in a sexual response cycle. The first phase is the desire phase, which consists of motivation or appetitive aspects of sexual response like sexual urges and fantasies, but it has no specific physical changes. The second phase is the excitement phase, where it is a subjective feeling of sexual pleasure and accompanying physiological changes. Like in men, they have penile erection, whereas in women, they have vaginal lubrication in this phase. Then inner 2/3 of the vagina expands and color of the vaginal wall becomes darker, and outer lips of vagina flatten and move back from the vaginal opening, and inner lip of the vagina thickens, clitoris enlarges, and cervix and uterus move upward, nipples become erect, and breast size also increases moderately, and sex flush appears, heart rate and BP increases, and general neuromuscular tension increases. The third phase is the orgasm phase. Next slide, please. Before that, there is a plateauing phase where there is a heightened state of excitement attained with continued stimulation, which is like marked sexual tension, which sets the stage for orgasm. So the third phase is the orgasm phase. Maybe next slide, please. Which is the climax phase, where the peak of sexual pleasure attains with rhythmic contraction of the genital musculature in both men and women. Like men will be associated with ejaculation. There are onset of that I told powerful involuntary rhythmic contraction of the orgasmic platform and uterus. Sex flush, if present, rheobex, maximum color and spread, involuntary contractions of the rectal sphincter, peak heart rates, BP and respiratory rate increases, and general loss of voluntary muscular control, maybe cramp like spasms of muscle groups in the face, hands, and feet. The last phase is the resolution phase. Next slide, please. This is the final phase during which a general sense of relaxation and well-being is experienced, where the clitoris returns to normal position within a few seconds after orgasm. Orgasmic platform disappears and vaginal lips returns to normal thickness and position and color. Vagina returns to resting size quickly, and uterus and cervix descend down, and areola returns to normal. Nipple erection disappears, and rapid disappearance of sex flush, and irregular neuromuscular tension may continue, and heart rate, respiratory rate, and BP also returns to baseline. General sense of relaxation is usually prominent. Visual and auditory acuity returns to usual levels. Then, then this is a refractory period in male, which is usually absent in females. What are my questions? Shall I answer the next question, or KP wants to answer and talk about anything?
The treatment aspects, ma'am.
Yeah, before going to that, Vaishali, so first of all, this sexual response cycle. So can we have the graph? Yeah, you can compare that with male and female. That another slide, male and female sexual response. So as ma'am said, there is a refractory period usually in male sexual response cycle, which is absent in female sexual response cycle. Means that females are capable of having multiple orgasms. And even otherwise, there are three types of orgasms in female sexual response cycle. Can be there are three variations. You can see that there can be either multiple orgasms from the plateau phase. Sometimes the plateau phase is prolonged and orgasm is not achieved. It's a slow one. And another is that rapid escalation to orgasm. So it can be short or long. So it is variable. So and many women have difficulties in all these stages, mainly the desire and reaching orgasm. So I would like to tell about the psychological factors which affect these stages. So if a woman has any other mental illness or anxiety, depression, chronic stress, the marital difficulties, difficulties in the marital adjustment, the family stress, all these can actually affect uh, any stage of these, actually, mainly the desire and orgasm phase. And especially the sexual abuse in childhood or negative experiences basically related to sexuality can lead to vaginismus or recently called as the penetration disorder. So such women will have difficulty or experience lot of pain when the partner tries to penetrate. Okay. So there are also other organic causes for all these things. So before going into the psychological diagnosis, we usually rule out the organic causes for the sexual dysfunctions. I think Dr. Upalata can shed some light on that.
Yeah, because the organic causes, one is the dysfunction of the hypothalamic pituitary axis. The second one is the endocrine. There are many endocrine disorders or ovarian failure or any cardiovascular drugs or psychotropic drugs can cause this, the hypoactive sexual desire. And prolonged period of sex abstinence could be one of the reasons for hypoactive sexual desire. And many women have fear, phobia. So there will be mostly a sexual pain. The sexual pain is of two types. One is the dyspareunia and another one is the vaginismus. This dyspareunia prevalence is 4 to 55%. Dyspareunia is defined as a recurrent or persistent genital pain before, during, or after intercourse. It can be divided into the organic cases like anatomical or pathological factors or any iatrogenic factors. The anatomical factors or the agenesis of the vagina or rigid hymen. The pathological factors are vulvar atrophy, cervical erosions, or any fibroids, ovarian cyst, or any endometriosis, uterine prolapse, or tender uterosacral ligaments, or any tender bladder, or any pelvic inflammatory disease, or any infections, or any squamous metaplasia will lead to dyspareunia. The third is the iatrogenic factor, which is a consequence of a surgical procedures like episiotomy. The other type is the vaginismus, which is a recurrent or persistent involuntary spasm or contraction or constriction of the musculature surrounding the vaginal outlet and outer third of the vagina that interferes with vaginal penetration. It causes severe personal distress to the women, and women not permitting. How do you know that such a woman has vaginas? Only as a gynecologist, we know when we make the patient lie down and examine and want to have a vaginal examination and put a finger, patient will be in immense fear, immense fear. She starts all emotional factors there, cry, she will not open her mouth. So that's how we tend to know that she has vaginismus. Then I will discuss with the male partner, then he will be open up with they'll not be having sex at all. So maybe one of the organic reasons or lesions of any external genitalia or any hymen abnormalities or any genital herpes or any previous obstetric trauma like during delivery or any atrophic vaginitis. Psychological fear may be phobia to sex itself or any fear of getting pregnancy is also another reason. Maybe then maybe the third one is the orgasm. Orgasm is orgasmic disorder could be due to decreased sexual drive, because most of the women they will suppress the sexual desire itself. That may be one of the reasons.
Okay, ma'am.
Treatment for this is a multimodal approach. It is not like a single modal approach. It is just multimodal cognitive behavioral approach. Like stage wise, we have to treat her. We have to find out organic or pathological causes, and team to counselor and a psychiatrist to give any treatment for depression or anything like that. We need to educate the couple and to give the deepest insight and understanding between them, and any hormonal disturbances, and I have to start on any hormone replacement therapy. That's how we can make them understand and treat the cause.
Okay, ma'am. So, on the psychological aspects and the treatment part by Dr.
So
Karthikeyan.
actually, the main reason for a lot of sexual difficulties is poor sex education. I would say completely absence of proper sex education. And the knowledge about sex is mostly given by the husband after marriage in Indian society. And nowadays, when there is a lot of information available in the media and there is pornography, I think a lot of misinformation is happening also. Okay, so that is why we need to have proper sex education, and the lot of stigma attached to this whole sexuality and prejudicial things about women, who express the sexual needs. There's a lot of social restrictive norms over the women. So that needs to be addressed constantly. So it is good that we have a mixed audience, both men and women here. So men need to understand that, if women, if she is in a relationship, is expressing her sexual needs, or um, she should not be judged based on that. There is nothing to do with character and sexuality. It is a biological need, like hunger or thirst. I think that should be the main take home point, that we should treat that as any other biological need and to be dealt in the same way. So, whenever this topic is being discussed, I remember even during my UG days, it will be there are a lot of shame and guilt whenever we discuss this topic. Even when the class is going on, children, students will be giggling, and it's not taken up very seriously, and we just shy away from even knowing the basic information about these things. So that should not be there. So our audience, I think, mostly comprises of the medical students. It is good that you have this today, and you should go and learn more about sex properly, like what actually it is, rather than just seeing whatever is presented in the media, because lot of exaggerated and abnormalities, I think, is being shown in pornography about everything, about the duration of the orgasm, about the penis size. So if both men and women are actually facing lot of sexual difficulties because of the misinformation as well. So that one side there is lack of proper sex education, another side there is lot of misinformation being given. And today's generation is also facing many other changes, like they get married late. So there's this issue that they are getting into premarital sex and living in relationships. I think it might come up in discussion, so we won't go there now. But so first step in treatment, I think, treatment or prevention, I would say, which is always better than cure, is providing adequate information about sex to women and men. I would suggest a proper premarital counseling, which involves the sex education. It's ideal. And allowing her to freely express. So during, I went through some of the studies done in South India. So they were like, the women often have difficulty in expressing their sexual needs to the husband itself. So that should not be there. Okay, so least is the going to the hospital, but at least they should be able to discuss. And there is um, there there should be always communication about sex between the husband and wife. So that actually solves major difficulties. When they discuss and plan certain things, things become easy. So that also we encourage a lot. So if you see the treatment part, first is we take an elaborate history. So the roots of the problem can be even from childhood. So from childhood, how the sex itself was introduced to the person. First, when did they become aware about it? How did they get to know about the sex from the friends, from parents, from media? So how they have learned it? How was it? Was it a positive experience or negative experience? Then how was their sexual maturation? When did they attain puberty? What was the reaction to it? Then when was their first, a love relationship? What was the first intercourse like? So all these things we will take in detail and try to find out where the problems are. And simultaneously, we'll also get a workup from the urologist or gynecologist to rule out the organic factors. So many times we find that there is both psychological and organic factors in the same person as such. So just because they have a fibroid or ovarian cyst or something, doesn't mean that they need to be affected because of that. And a lot of psychological treatments have been found to be useful to even women having these organic issues. So we need to evaluate both, and a lot of psychological treatments available. The famous sex therapist Marston Johnson that have given a lot of treatment modalities about this problems. So first we have to find out the thing and the other aspects of the relationship. also plays an important role in the sex life. So many times I have seen that the husbands concentrate only on the sex side. They'll tell that make her better. If she's not cooperating, she's complaining of pain or something. But when you see the other aspects of relationship, there will be a lot of problem. There may be abuse by the mother-in-law. There may be role strain. There may be lot of work in the house, and she is very tired. So all these things we have to find. And generally, the husbands affection, when they are affectionate towards the wife, when they show that they care about them on a daily basis, it actually studies have shown that it actually results in less sexual difficulties. So all these things are important. So they need to know that it is not easy. So men, it may be relatively easier, but for women to treat their sexual difficulties, it is that we need to treat the couple as such. And as ma'am said, there is CBT for conjoint CBT can be done, and a lot of other forms of treatment like for vaginismus, where there is some dilators available. There's a lot of new things coming also. There has been a lot of progress in this area. But first and most important is I think the education and communication between the partners, and um, avoiding this misinformation. And that's all I think.
That's well elaborated, ma'am. And, so next we move on to like, sex during menstruation. Is it acceptable? Why not? Does it eliminate the possibility of conception? Is it true? I would like to ask Dr. Rupa ma'am on this.
Yeah, during menstruation, no woman will have sex, I believe, because menstruation itself is very messy. That's why. But it is very safe. Apart from messiness, there are a lot of benefits. Number one, sex during menstruation relieves menstrual cramps because it triggers the release of chemicals like endorphins, which make the woman feel good, and the woman will be occupied apart from the menstrual discomfort. And the second one is having sex can make a woman period shorter because uterine muscle contracts during orgasm. It pushes out most of the uterine contents. That's how make the menstrual cycle shorter, and it increases the sex drive for the female also. And the blood acts as a natural lubricant, and it may relieve migraine headache for some of the women. So the only side effect or the complication is the spread of STDs like HIV or hepatitis, because these viruses which live in the infected menstrual blood can spread the HIV or hepatitis infection. So usage of condoms may help to avoid to avoid the spread. What is the other question? Eliminate the eliminate the, then other thing is also sex during I told other things like what is the other question? Eliminate the possibility of conception. No, the pregnancy is very lower if the woman has a regular cycle. But women, if she has a very shorter cycle, like 22 days cycle, maybe she can have a chances of getting pregnant because the sperm can live in for a week, and by the time she will ovulate, and she might get pregnant.
So there's a chance of conception is more during this period.
Not more, it's less as such in a regular cycle, whereas in a shortened cycle, some women might get pregnant because the cycle itself, the shorter cycle, it's only 22 days cycle. So she will be ovulating in around 12 days or something. So the sperm, or if they have often a sex, the sperm might stay there for 1 week or so. So during the ovulatory period, she might fertilize.
of people had the same doubt, so you cleared it, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Do women masturbate, and what is the view about this? What is the impact on bodily health? I would like to ask Dr. Rupa ma'am on this.
Okay, masturbation mostly, most of the Indian women don't know what is masturbation, and no, most of them don't masturbate at all. They think it is negative, it is very bad, and nobody talks about it. Actually, nobody, no, even a doctor or no, most of them don't talk about it. It's become a social stigma. So, despite the myths, there are actually no physical harmful side effects of masturbation. So, the only thing is the women feel guilty or dirty, or they think it is very shameful. The what is the thing? Impact on bodily health. There are many benefits for mind and body. The thing is, it can help increase the sexual desire and sensitivity. That is a feel good factor. It in fact relieves the built up stress. The women tend to sleep better and boost the that is feel good factor, boost the mood, emotional mood. Then it gives complete relaxation, and it gives the feel of pleasure, and it also relieves menstrual cramps, and it releases the sexual tension, and can have better sex, I guess. What other thing? It better understand your wants and needs, and self pleasure will prevent some of the STDs also. And what is the other one? The myth about infertility. This is just false beliefs in the field of fertility due to lack of knowledge. It's just a myth. It is not related to infertility itself.
There is any chance of increase in infertility if
No, masturbation doesn't increase the infertility. Whereas men who masturbate often, no, they might not give semen sample during the ovulatory phase because they cannot penetrate into the woman's body. That's how males can have infertility if they are addicted to masturbation.
Okay, ma'am. So, and the mental health aspect on masturbation by
That's what mental
I
aspect.
just
Okay.
clarify that
aspect.
masturbation actually is widely practiced by both men and women. Widely means more than 90%. Yeah, actually, women don't discuss about it openly because of well-known reasons, as I already said. So, and it, as ma'am said, it helps in boosting the mood and in improving their sexual experiences. But once it becomes addictive, it is definitely deleterious to the mental health. Um, and also, they have to
Does it affect their sex life with their partner?
know. Huh. See, in a marriage or any other relationship, when the person, both male and women, when they practice masturbation excessively, they may get satisfied by that itself and not seek the partner for their sexual satisfaction. That is one concern, but that is, as I already said, only when it becomes excessive or addictive. Otherwise, when the partner is not available, or like in long distance relationships, or when they are not having the desire, it can be practiced to reduce the sexual frustrations. And when they are single, obviously they can practice it.
Kartikeya Priya ma'am, you're not very loud. You're not clearly audible, ma'am. Can you be
Okay.
a bit louder?
No, as I said, masturbation is widely practiced by both men and women. Okay, more than 90%. Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
So, but women don't discuss about it openly, okay, because of stigma. And it doesn't affect the fertility or it doesn't affect the mental health in a negative way. Only when it becomes addictive or it replaces the partner sex activity, then it is not advisable. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am. It's very clear. And like, is homosexuality a disorder? Is it biological or is it treatable? And your views on it, ma'am?
Homosexuality is no more considered a disorder.
Yes.
But how homosexuality happens, how the cause is still not known, but there's a lot of interaction between the genetic factors. There's a lot of biological factors behind homosexuality, and it is a normal variant. And for ages, it has been practiced. Um, like you said, all the sexual activity happens. Most often, it's not discussed in public, right? It's a personal matter. So we were not very much aware, and all the deviations from the majority are often considered abnormal. So similarly, homosexuality was also not accepted. So because of that, it was considered a disorder, and people tried to treat them. But now it is clear that we should not even try to treat them. Okay, we should rather accept them. And it's a lot of variations actually in homosexuality. Um, but if it is ego dystonic, that is, if the patient is not comfortable about it, then we can help them. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. So, how is sexual and body awareness plays a role in women's mental health? What positive impact will it bring in future relationships? Both can shed some light on that.
Um, okay, it is actually it brings women high self-esteem and confidence in one's femininity, resulting in a high desire for sexual activity. Actually, one who indulges in sex, no, will have a good hormonal balance. They don't have mood swings. They create more. They create more. They think more. They have lot of ideas instead of suppressing and pent up emotions. What do you say, Karthik Priya?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. This is what we need to realize, that it improves the mental health very much. Because, as I said earlier, it is a basic biological drive, and if
Karthikeya
it
Prema,
is,
can you
huh,
be a bit
hello,
louder?
huh, hello,
Yeah,
am I
you're
audible?
audible.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah.
So, as it is a basic biological drive, we need to satisfy that need, okay, to be healthy. And definitely, it plays an important role in mental health. It boosts a person's self esteem and reduces mood fluctuations. And as our father of psychology, Sigmund Freud, emphasized, the unsatisfied sexual uh, feelings to be a major cause for anxiety disorders and lot of other illnesses. I think it's very, very important.
So, Rupalata ma'am, your opinion on it? Like, is it how is sexual and body awareness plays a role in women's mental health?
That's
What?
what I told. No, that's what
Yeah.
I just told. I just finished answering it. It makes a woman a mark of high self-esteem and confidence in one's femininity, resulting in a higher desire for sexual activity itself. They have more. I mean, their hormones are in well balanced manner. The mood swings will not be there once the. I mean, when the woman is indulgent in sex.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. So,
And it,
however, is
it improves the intimacy in a marriage. It's very
Yeah, the
important.
partner understanding. They create
Definitely.
more. They have more ideas.
okay, ma'am. So, however,
Even
can
okay,
I go to the next question,
yeah,
ma'am?
yeah.
However, is women about premarital sex and what are the safety issues they face?
yeah, we need to discuss about premarital sex. See, this is current generation's problem, I think, that women are getting married late, but getting to know about sex early. And this Western culture has influenced us a lot, and women have entered this phase of having premarital sex casually. Even when I was asking some of the students, they said that they are practicing it or they are aware about it. So, but problem is, um, what are the precautions they should take? So, so definitely they should take precautions against the sexually transmitted diseases and chances of pregnancy. Maybe ma'am might add further to that. And another thing regarding the mental health, I think what happens in premarital sex and this relationships, sometimes the girl may be entering into many relationship before marriage. Then that may be an also issue after marriage, um, and that can lead to a lot of uh, disturbances in the sexual life as well. So I think they should think well before entering into premarital sex. And we have seen that there is a great disparity between what the families and parents think about all these things and what the children think about that. So what happens is, without thinking much, they enter into this kind of relationships, and later on, when they have to face the social consequences of it, then they are clueless about how to handle it. That can lead to a lot of complications, even self-injurious behavior, or they can also be easily abused by other men. So all these things they have to be careful. Um, Sharing pictures, sexting, all these things are very common these days. But I would suggest that women should be a little bit more responsible also. So one side, I would say that sex is good for mental health, but sex outside marriage or outside a committed relationship also, like even with strangers, one night stands, all these things, I don't know how safe it is. So they need to think about it well and take enough precautions and enter into such kind of relationships. This is my personal opinion, um, not as a doctor, but otherwise I'm telling this.
And the views by Dr. Rupalata.
I feel premarital sex is very dangerous these days, especially adolescent girls, like school going girls, college girls, even village girls. They don't know how to tackle the issue once they indulge in sex and they become pregnant, because girls easily fall for the boys, or they do get easily mesmerized by the words of the men or the boys. So they should be more responsible, as Karthikeya Priya madam said. They should be more responsible in indulging in sex. If they are very sure about it, they can go ahead uh, with full protection, either in the form of barrier or contraception like condoms, or they have to use oral contraceptive pills before indulging in such activities. Because as a gynecologist, I see most of the girls are coming with pregnancy, even 5 months, 6 months. They don't know, they doesn't know that they are pregnant itself. So it is for us, no, if the parents are bringing the girl, no, then it is very difficult for me also to do abortion at that point of time. So girls please be responsible before indulging in such activities. I'm not telling it is wrong, but be careful with the boys, with the relationship or with the intimate relationship with the boys, because you could be one of the dial number for them. So please be careful, and use contraceptions or condoms before indulging in such activities. I think women or girls are not responsible. They are easily carried away these days. So without knowing the consequences. So I tell girls only to be more aware of this relationship issues in premarital sex.
And better that the family is informed about at least the person who is involved, not the nature or extent of relationship. At least they should be aware that no such a person is in the daughter's life, and I think that will give some amount of protection. So unknown person or stranger just meeting through Facebook or Instagram, then getting into relationship or even otherwise in other situations, it is more dangerous.
No, I've seen 2, 3 girls died itself in taking pills from the medical shop
Mhm.
due to excessive torrential bleeding. So, girls, please stop doing such activities. Please be more responsible.
Think they should seek professional help,
Yeah,
and
and we
definitely inform the parents.
gynecologist.
If any time the parents will definitely they may scold or beat, but still they will try to help you out. So I
And
think
one more thing, the gynecologist, as we doctors, we should not judge them when they come to us. We should not interfere in their personal thing and then scold them, make them abuse them, make them feel guilty about it. Maybe we can tell it in a polite way. Maybe we should make more awareness in such activities rather
that
than
is a
scolding
valid
them.
point. Many times they are afraid because
Judged
doctors
by,
judge or scold, so they won't
yeah,
talk to us, and even to the parents they don't reveal it.
yeah.
We are coming to the end of the discussion. People can ask their doubts in the doubt session. So you can avail use of it by typing it in the chat box. So, ma'am, there is a question. Is there an entity called asexuality in women where sexual orientation identity disorders have been ruled out and has normal hormonal profile? There was a question here. Think, is there is there an entity called asexuality in women?
There is no, I don't think so, asexuality women. There is sexual disorder in women. I'm not aware
I
of
think
asexuality.
the participant has is asking about the low sexual desire.
Yeah,
It's what
any
I think.
sexual disorder.
Disorders.
They maybe they should seek help. They should seek medical professional help for low sexual desire or any sexual problems if they have. Seek
Or if
medical
that
help.
person wishes to be asexual. Like, I think maintaining celibacy she means.
Hmm.
What exactly she means.
Where sexual orientation identity disorders have been ruled out. She says it is ruled out and has normal hormonal profile. In that case, she's asking.
If everything is normal, that means only she is voluntarily being asexual. That means not
Hmm.
participating in sexual activity. That can be a person's choice. That is what. But when she has mainly some negative attitude towards sex, this is very common. Sex is always been described as a sinful act, or it's a something bad, nasty. That is how it is presented to us. No, we are prohibited from viewing such things, and so that may also lead to a person having such practices, having such attitude. So many of my female clients they have asked me that, apart from making child, what is the purpose of having sex? They seriously believe this, that it is only for making child
Reproduction.
reproduction.
Then what to do when they lose interest in sex itself? How to counsel them? Many of the women, they come and tell me they're not interested. How do they counsel them, or what to do with such women?
See, that's what in the when you collect the history itself, you will know that where is this attitude towards sex coming from. Maybe because the parents have told like that something negatively about it, and then the current maybe relationship issues and the family stress, everything is the situation. Sometimes even there are not many, or there is not room for privacy in family. I have had female clients, complaining that husbands try to have sex even before kids and all. So it is very difficult for them. And all these experiences make them actually more aversive towards sex. That could be the reason. So there will be a lot of reasons behind why a woman is telling that. Otherwise, it is supposed to be a pleasurable act, right? So normal sexuality is actually it should be pleasurable and comfortable for both the partners, and it should not cause guilt or shame to any of the partner. That is the normalcy. So if it is abnormal, we need to find out why it is abnormal. If we rectify that, hopefully it will come back to normal.
Okay.
There is another question like nymphomanism is not a simple urge but an uncontrollable desire. How do you manage on this condition?
Come again?
Nymphomanism is not a simple urge but an uncontrollable desire. How do you manage on this condition? They are asking about nymphomanism.
Okay. So I
What it
think
is?
they mean the increased desire.
They say.
So first of all, we need to determine first of all whether it is increased sexual desire. Okay, it is not seen as a um, disorder. See, when there is not proper balance between the both the partners, sometimes they can feel like that. For example, if the husband is not having that desire, enough desire, maybe the woman may feel that, am I being hypersexual? So we need to clarify first what is the actual thing happening. Okay, that is not very common. And we need to rule out, as for low sex drive, we ruled out the hormonal causes. We need to rule out the other conditions that may lead to increased sexual drive as well. Maybe Rupa ma'am can tell there is any organic causes for hypersexuality.
I never seen my in my practice, or usually men will be active till andropause, maybe 70s till 80s, but women will be active only till less than 60 years. Um, Maybe they have to make control on their urge or the drive.
One thing I have seen is when the person is exposed to sexual abuse in childhood,
Childhood trauma.
by being part of a sexual activity, sometimes like pedophiliacs. I have seen such clients, few clients telling that they also have increased sexual desire because they were exposed to that at a very young age.
Mm.
That can be a reason, but as I said, the individual need to be evaluated properly before making such assumptions.
Yeah.
One last question, ma'am.
Hmm.
Like, does women lose the sexual desire after menopause?
Yeah. Men, women lose desire even after childbirth. They'll be more responsible for the parenthood. They lose desire, their lack of interest after birth itself, after giving birth itself,
So now with age, definitely the sexual desire is coming down, but
coming down.
yeah, till 55 years, but women are capable of having an active sex life. Even after that, some women, maybe in Western countries, it is they try to take contraceptive, they take hormonal tablets to improve their sexual activity as
Mm.
well. All these are common, but it's not like they cannot have sex. But definitely the desire and participation will be less.